There's one thing every game needs to even be considered good. I'd even go as far to say that if your game doesn't have this, then you should just go ahead and cancel it. You know what I'm talking about. Every game needs fishing. Every single one. I don't care if your game takes place in a world without water. Make space fish, make sand fish. I don't care. I just want to fish, god. Sega made an absolutely horrifying, massive cat thing named Big the Cat, solely to put fishing in Sonic Adventure. Okay, I have no idea why they created Big the Cat. Cats don't fish, especially Cheshire cats, but then again, I don't know why else they would create what is literally my sleep paralysis demon.
Froggy, where are you?
But we're getting off track here. Fishing. It makes every game better. That's unless you're Justin McElroy, but no matter if you hate fishing in real life or not, video game fishing is pure bliss. Although it's always been missing something I can't quite put my finger on. Okay, I actually can put a finger on it. I want horrific Lovecraftian sea monsters. I want some horror elements. Maybe a little bit of inventory Tetris straight out of Resident Evil 4 even. That's why I'm thanking every Eldritch God out there for giving us Dredge. Black Salt Games describes Dredge, their debut title, as an unusual fishing RPG. That's a very apt description. I mean, this is unusual, right? Obviously, you got the unusual part, but is Dredge a fishing RPG? Definitely. You might not be leveling up and raiding dungeons, but you've got a slew of upgrades to unlock for your boat, and it really does feel like you're inhabiting a role. It's just the role of a fisherman trying to make ends meet in a horrific world filled with monsters. And the only good people are the working class. Wait, that's just our world. Save a few Cthulhian creatures. Now, Dredge isn't the first game in which you're traveling on the open seas avoiding monsters right out of Innsmouth. Sunless Sea did it all the way back in 2015, but its focus on managing almost everything about your ship on the sea and at port pushed me away. Dredge is exactly what I was wanting it to be. In Sunless Sea, you're either expected to learn from your failures or read a wiki. Those failures could put you back hours though, and I never enjoyed the moment-to-moment gameplay enough to get past that hurdle. Now, you're not doing that much more out on the ocean in Dredge, but you can fish. I don't know a lot about fishing in real life. I avoid any open water that I can, but it's rarely a high-octane activity. When people go to fish, they go to enjoy nature and the peacefulness it can bring. That's what fishing games are about. Other than that one. Let's not talk about that one anymore.
Froggy, where are you?
Now, you aren't fishing for fun in Dredge, but the developers still know exactly what you want out of a fishing game. Its gameplay loop reflects that. Dredge has a day-night cycle, and during the day you'll be fishing or exploring the map until nighttime comes around. Nighttime is when those sea monsters come into play. Luckily, at the start of the game you can avoid dealing with them. I love this. Obviously, being able to avoid sea creatures is always a plus. That's why you won't catch me anywhere near the open sea. If you're a coward like me, you can put off coming face to face with these monstrosities. For a while at least. Eventually, the game gives you objectives that can only be completed during nighttime. But until then, the game allows you the freedom of avoiding its horror elements. Now, I'm no stranger when it comes to horror games, but having the freedom to delve into that side of the game whenever I wanted to was great. That's why anyone who hates playing horror games will still find something to enjoy in Dredge. Personally, I don't think the horror elements of the game are that oppressive or terrifying, but if hearing that scares you off this game, I'd say push past that because the game eases you into it. Because when the sun is out, Dredge is mostly peaceful. You'll spend your time going from port to port selling off whatever fish you caught in between. Time passes whenever you're moving or performing an action, which puts more focus on the act of planning your route for the day rather than using time as a constant stressor. There's not a lot of backstory on the fisherman you play as, but I'm just going with the headcanon that he's the super hot guy after he retired. Time management can be just as crucial as succeeding at the fishing minigames. They vary depending on what fish you're currently trying to catch, but none of them are too demanding. Almost all of them feel like you're trying to get an active reloading Gears of War. And if you aren't great at them, you could leave earlier in the day and focus solely on catching that one fish you need. Chances are you'll get the fish before nighttime comes around, but that's all you'll be able to do that day. That's where the risk-reward of the day-night cycle comes in. If you want to get the most out of your day, you could stay out on the ocean longer, but you run the risk of being attacked at nighttime and losing everything you caught. I mentioned before that you'll occasionally have objectives that force you to go out at night, but that's almost always just catching a specific fish. Catching it isn't the hard part though. It's getting back to a port safely. The creatures that come out at night can easily injure your boat, and once that happens you could lose cargo space or even your engines. Luckily those can be repaired though. Your psyche is a different thing entirely. Sleep is the only thing that will fix that. The longer you stay awake or spend time out at night, your panic levels will increase. You'll start to experience hallucinations and become more susceptible to creature attacks. Both can be absolutely terrifying. So yeah, you don't want to be out at night. I've got some bad news though. You can never completely avoid the abominations lying under the surface. Dredge is something I never knew I needed. A horror fishing game sounds like something I would have yelled during a fever dream, but they work so well together. The atmosphere varies wildly depending on where you're at and when you're there, but it's always top notch. The visuals are minimalist, but the art design manages to tell a story all on its own. I love all of the character art especially. Dredge does have a story, but like the visuals, it does a lot with a little. You're a nameless fisherman who gets hired to find some ancient relics for a collector. You're not sure of his intentions, but he gives you some sweet mystical boat powers as a result, so it's a good trade-off. This main quest will take you to all of the corners of the map. And you'll find some side quests as you explore the different islands that make up the archipelago the game takes place on. Most of the side quests involve sacrificing fish at altars to eldritch gods, and giving fish to creepy cultists who... okay, yeah, they're probably just going to sacrifice them to an eldritch god also. There's one side quest where you find a dog on an island and you get to find him a new owner. That's cool. Cooler than whatever this is. It's definitely one of those games where you can decide just how much time you want to put into it. There's enough here to give you hours worth of enjoyment whether you're a completionist or not. Some of the mechanics do get a little tiring by the end, and the upgrades can make a lot of the more interesting mechanics of the game trivial, but I still love my time with Dredge. I really do think it has something for everyone. I mean, I don't know of anyone who doesn't like to fish in video games. But even if there's some soulless monster who doesn't, they'll probably find something to latch onto in its horror elements. It's available on basically everything, and with a $25 price tag, I can't recommend it enough. I wish the back half of the game introduced more new mechanics, but overall the journey was more than worth it. Which is why I'm giving Dredge 4 whatever these things are out of 5.